Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Love Restore. I am your host, Marshaun Olaniyan, and I am super excited to be back here. I know that we are now on another episode in the Black Women Stereotype Who Taught Us That series, and today is no different. It's going to be juicy. Get your pen and paper. You are ready to jump in. I'm super excited to be here, as I mentioned, and I'm super excited about this topic because not a lot of people talk about this topic, and not a lot of people are really aware that this could happen. So what am I talking about? I know, I get it. You want to know. So it's the fear of being loved too well. The fear of being loved too well. So when good feels foreign. All right, let's talk about it for these next 30 minutes. Let's take a deep dive into it. And if you have any questions or if you are looking for coaching outside of Love Restore, I am a coach. And who do I serve? I serve Black professional women that are lacking in their confidence in some form of their life, usually in the relationship with themselves or the relationship with their partner. They are lacking clarity, what they want, how to go about getting what they want, how to ask for what they want, and they are lacking the courage to actually do and speak up for themselves in order to get what they want. So if that sounds like something that you are struggling with, I am your girl outside of Love Restore to help get you from where you're at today. So in the next 3, 6, 12 months, you can actually show up and be courageous enough, confident enough, and have the clarity that you want in order to step back into the dating stages so you can attract a better mate, because you will be better, my sister. If that sounds like something that you want to do, just email me, Marshaun@MarshaunOlaniyan.com. I'm sure that the link will be there somewhere with the correct spelling of my name, since I don't have it spelled out here. I know that my name is somewhere here, completely spelled out. So it's Marshaun@MarshaunOlaniyan.com. So without further ado, let's jump into this topic of the fear of being loved when good feels foreign. What does that look like? So you say that you want a good man, a soft place to land, a partner who pours into you the way that you pour into other people. And then he actually does show up. He listens. He follows through. He is not and does not play games. He makes you feel safe. And slowly, without warning, you start to pull away. You start to question him. You start to test him. You silently accuse him of being too good to be true. Now, why is that? Because, sis, good love feels foreign to you. When you've only known love that you had to chase, when you've only experienced condition laced with inconsistency, attention you had to earn, affection with conditions, or intimacy that came with pain. We getting honest right now about a truth many successful Black women don't say out loud. I'm afraid of being loved too well because I don't trust it, sis. And sometimes you don't even know how to receive it. That's the truth of the matter. And I understand it because I've been there. I've done that. I thought that, hey, this is too good to be true. And guess what? When you start to believe that this is too good to be true, it will be too good to be true. And what you're actually doing is that you are silently sabotaging the relationship, because as I just mentioned, you start to question him. You start to question the relationship. You start to wait for the other shoe to drop. You start to really look for the things that's going to make you win, which is, I knew he was too good to be true. I knew that this was too good to be true. No man has ever come into my life and actually listened to me. No man has ever come into my life and made me feel seen. And so when somebody does show up to give you the things that you've been asking for, you don't know how to handle it because good love feels foreign to you. So what is good love? And why is it a feeling of unfamiliarity? Well, healthy, secure love looks like it feels peaceful, where you feel at peace, I should say. There is emotional safety within the relationship. Like you feel like you can say anything, and it's not going to be thrown up in your face later on. Healthy love looks like consistency without confusion. Healthy love is where you feel supported. Healthy love is where you feel seen. Healthy love is where you feel respected. Healthy love is where you can tell your partner your deepest, darkest secrets. And again, it's never mentioned in a way where it's going to be thrown in your face to make you feel a certain way or less than about yourself and how you're showing up in this world. So that is what healthy, good love looks like. But I want to talk to you just a smidgen about the way your nervous system starts to deregulate when these things happen, because peace can feel off. Peace can feel off when you're used to chaos, when you're usually in your fight or flight mode, and you get used to hypervigilance, where you're always scanning for what's next. I mentioned that earlier. I didn't use the word hypervigilance, but I used the word where you're looking for the shoe to drop. That's where you're looking for what's next. What's going to happen? Because he and this is too good to be true. You don't want to do that to yourself. So when you're finally in a secure, drama-free relationship, you don't know what to do with that. Your body interprets the calm, the peace as a threat, because it's different, because it's unfamiliar, because again, you just not used to being in a healthy relationship, or one where you really feel like this is some good love and you're able to accept said good love. So now, here are some signs that you might be subconsciously rejecting healthy love or good love, as I just mentioned. You find reasons to nitpick or to emotionally retreat when things go smoothly. We don't want you to do that. You question their intentions when they're consistent, because you're so used to inconsistency that when he is consistent, you're like, what's going on? Because it is different, because it is foreign, because it might even scare you, because even though you know that someone who is inconsistent is not where you should be at all, it's not somebody that you should put your trust into, because you are familiar with that type of treatment. When somebody else comes up and shows up completely different, as in the person or the man that you've been praying for, now you're like, I don't know. And how do I know? I know this to be true because I've heard it myself. I remember I was dating this guy, and it was an absolute turnoff for me, right? I remember I was dating this guy, and he basically said something very similar to this. Like, I don't know how long we were dating, a few weeks, few months. I don't really remember. But what I do remember is, what I do remember is him just blurting out, because it came out of the blue for me. To him, this is obviously been something that he's been brewing with. It's like, when is she gonna mess up? When is she gonna do A, B, C, X, Y, Z? Like, right? And I was just like, this is such a turnoff, because he literally was like, you too good to be true. I'm literally waiting for you to mess up and do something wrong. And I was like, Now, to be fair and to be honest, I really didn't see that as a red flag. I did not run in that moment. I did like pause, like, this don't sound right, because why would you be looking for the other shoe to drop? Base me off my merit and what I'm showing you. I'm showing you that I'm being consistent. But what I didn't realize is that just because you, the person that's being consistent, does not know what the other person is dealing with. I did not understand his baggage. I did not even understand that he had baggage in this realm, because he was so used to chaos, because he's so used to drama. And so that might be your story. You're so used to chaos, you're so used to drama, that when that person does show up, you blatantly say that line, you are too good to be true. And when a person hears you say that, when I heard him say that to me, I was just like I said, I didn't leave in the moment, but I totally took mental note for sure. Like, and I'm sure I made a face, because I'm not good at the poker face. So a lot of times if you say something to me that I don't like, or that's even a shocker, I'm like face all balled up, no poker face. And I'm okay with that. you might be subconsciously rejecting healthy love because you're so used to chaos and so used to the drama that even when you say that you don't like drama, you don't feel like your relationship is thriving if no drama is there. You don't feel like your relationship is moving forward if there's the calm, if the shoe is not dropping. And that's just for the furthest thing from the truth. Peaceful relationships are healthy relationships. Now, there are other things that come into play to make this an ideal, healthy relationship, but these are some of the things that you should be thinking about. If this sounds like something that you're doing, now you have a better understanding of, okay, I'm doing this. I'm controlling how the other person is seeing me, how the relationship is starting to unfold. And now you have sort of a blueprint on what area or areas that you can start working on so you can be better, right? So that's what this looks like. Those are some signs that you might be subconsciously rejecting healthy love. Now, another thing is about your past trauma, and this conditions us as people to not trust stability or to distrust stability. Either way, same thing. And this could have happened if you were growing up with love that you had to feel like you had to earn it, or if again the love was inconsistent, or if it was emotionally unsafe for you when you were speaking up, or it could be in your past relationships that required you to overfunction or to people please, or you felt self-abandoned, right? And so all of that is very important when you're thinking about, am I the one that's messing this up? Because of your past. Your past keeps showing up. And and then also there is a confusion between intensity and intimacy. So for example, he texts you all day long, but you've never had a real conversation about your future. Now, the problem is that this looks like intimacy because there is consistency in you hearing from him. But the reason why it looks like intimacy is because there is that constant connection. However, this is actually intensity. It's real intensity because the depth is not there. Remember, you're not talking about your future. You're probably not even talking about meeting up as much as you should. There is just the conversation. The consistency is there, but there is no depth to your conversation. It's just frequency. That's it. Intimacy is built in vulnerability. It's built in consistent conversations, not rapid fire text. So it's not to say that texting is bad, i.e. it is not, but it should be a complement to, not the main thing. And that also goes for conversations as well. And what I mean by that is phone conversations. If you're on the phone and you're talking about, you're consistently in contact with one another, but you're really not talking about anything. And what I mean by that is there is no future talk. There's no talks about you and him. There's no talks about how you're going to get together. There's no talks about dating. There's no talks about meeting friends. There's no talks about you and the other person. Especially if you have a romantic interest in this person. Now, I'm not talking about just one of your friends that happens to be of the opposite sex that you just he and ha with, but I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about somebody that you have a romantic interest in. They presented themselves as if they had a romantic interest in you, and yet you have yet to go out on a date. I remember when I was younger, before I was a coach, I remember I had a friend, and she was in a situationship. And her and this guy talked for a decade. I'm not even exaggerating. It was a decade. He was consistently around, consistently there, but there was never any talks about future. I met him by chance. Her and I were out. I think we were at a club or at a concert. We were actually at a concert. So you know how they have those smaller, intimate concerts that like loungers or something like that. We were at a concert, and I'm pretty sure it was Music Soul Child, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, we were there. He was there by himself, and he walked up to her and said something, but then he continued to move on. there was no introduction of who he was to me. I knew who he was because how she lit up, and her and I had a conversation afterwards, but he didn't stop and, try to converse with her, try to converse with me. They never went out on a date. He was consistently there. They did see each other in romantic setting, but as far as going out in public and people knowing that they were a couple and people knowing that they were seeing each other or at least dating, it was never anything like that. And so I don't want you to get caught up in a situation that where you think that you're intimate with this person when it's just intensity. They're consistent in being in your face and in your space, but there are no talks about anything other than what's currently happening right now. And honestly, let's be real, what he was getting out of it. And I know that some women do this as well, but the majority, men will string you along as long as you allow them to string you along. And so I remember asking her, essentially, like I was asking her deeper questions so she can ask him deeper questions, just so she can get a better idea of what was happening with them. Because this is when I was, like I said, way before I was a coach, and I was still out here learning. And I was just like, something ain't right with this, sis. Like, something ain't right with this. And I couldn't pinpoint it. I couldn't help her like I can help you. But I'm just letting you know that this stuff does happen, and it happens if you have no clue, if you're not clear, right? If you're not clear about how dating actually goes, and when he's not talking about a future, or if he's avoiding future conversation, or if he has never met your friends and family, the two of you have never really gone out on a real date. So there are clear signs for you to pay attention to. Excuse me. So you will know, I can start wasting my time, energy, and effort on this person. As much as I like this person, this is not going anywhere. And long story short, it didn't go anywhere. They never got into a relationship. They definitely didn't take it to the next level. And at one day, I think she just got fed up and she just moved on with her life. I honestly can't remember how it ended, but I do know for sure that it was over a decade of that. Meeting behind closed doors, not out in public, never being introduced to family and friends. And I know in the beginning she wasn't looking for that. So I get it. He was going along with the program, but that's another side note. How we usually set up the relationship is how the relationship usually continues to go. And a lot of times when we try to now change up the rules, it doesn't go well for us, because we have to really pay attention to how we're setting these relationships up. And again, it was a situationship. It was never a relationship. And I've been in one of those before, but it was definitely not a decade long. And I caught it in time just because I just wasn't getting my needs met. And it wasn't so much that, like I said, because this was pre-coaching Marshaun. So it wasn't that I just knew so much. It was just like, this don't feel right. And I don't think that he liked me like this. So let me move on with my life. And I just made a decision to move on. So anywho, now that I've gone that rabbit hole, let's get back into this, right? Because intensity and intimacy, I have another example for you. The relationship is moving so fast. There's chemistry, there's connection. You might even have sexual relations with the person, but you don't actually feel emotionally safe. Now, this can look like intimacy because there's chemistry, there's connection. You guys have been each other's face and face. You've been in each other's bodies, okay? Right. This looks like intimacy because there is an instant bond and even a closeness. But it's intensity. It could be a trauma bond, or attachment activation can feel like love. Intimacy, on the other hand, it actually does take time. Intensity has a tendency to skip steps, and it confuses urgency with depth. So don't get sucked down that rabbit hole that just because you're in contact with this person day in and day out and they're all in your face and space, that is intimacy. It literally could be intensity masked as intimacy. So you have to be able to discern and decipher what is actually happening in your relationship. You may have been in one of these situationships before, which is why you are so scared when good love actually shows up. When a good man, and I've heard this before, and it kind of saddens me that he's checked every box, if you will, and hardly to when I say minuscule drama, I'm gonna say minuscule drama. Emotionally intelligent, he is able to hear your needs. He makes you feel emotionally safe, but you're just waiting for the ball to drop, right? All of the things that we already mentioned. I'm bringing it up again because I hate, and I know hate is a strong word, but I really hate, and I also feel saddened by the fact that when some women say that he's just too boring, that is my light bulb moment that you're probably used to drama and inconsistency and feeling like you have to do in order to be seen in your relationship, to earn his love, to earn him taking you out, to earn him showing you off to the world, and feeling like something is wrong because everything is okay. You're not happy, you're not satisfied if your body is not in a state of being tense or you being confused. You're not able to accept the fact that you don't have to call one of your girlfriends to vent about him and the things that he's not doing for you. Because maybe your beliefs are even telling you, you are being shown something that is not in alignment with your beliefs. What I mean by that is, even though you say that you want this person, you prayed for this person, he's in your face and in your space, and now you don't know how to keep this person because you don't even believe he is true. You're waiting for something to happen. That's probably not going to happen because he's secure in who he is. Like, back up to me. When the guy said that to me, I literally was so confused because I'm like, well, what is it that you want me to do? Like, literally, this is me. I don't have to show up and try to be something that I'm not. I don't do that anyway. But why are you waiting for the shoe to drop? And long story short, I just noticed that he truly loved drama. So I wasn't right for him because drama is so far removed from me. So far removed. Anytime drama is in my face, I remove myself without getting back into it. Now, don't get me wrong. She in there. She can come on now. But that's really not my flavor. I'd rather move on. So it really saddens me when I hear somebody say that the partner is boring, that, because what they're really saying is that they're safe and I don't know what to do with this. I'm so used to drama and confusion and nitpicking or complaining, I should say, complaining about this person to my girlfriend or somebody else. I don't have nothing to complain about, and I don't know what to do with myself. Another thing that could be happening is the role of emotional safety in softening, the foundation that allows a woman to relax her armor and show up in her softness without the fear of being judged, rejected, or controlled. Think about how you know if you're in a relationship that deserves your softness. This is one of the things that I frequently talk about with my clients. When you are in a relationship where the person deserves to see your softness, you are not the one that's constantly pouring into him, pouring into the relationship with little or no return on your own investment. When you pour, it might not be that same day, but at some point he's pouring. You pour into him, he's pouring into you. It's not a one-sided thing, right? Or it could be where you are receiving love and affection freely, where in past relationships, it wasn't like that. You felt like you literally had to beg to receive some love and affection. What about the eggshells? And what do I mean by eggshells? Where you do not feel like you are walking on eggshells. When he comes into the room, the energy is not shifting and changing. You feel like I don't have to worry about not expressing myself. I don't have to worry about not feeling like I want to do ABC today, because the consequences are going to be X, Y, and Z. You don't have to feel like any of that, knowing that it's okay. It really is truly okay. In your relationship, you feel seen and heard, as I mentioned earlier. And finally, for my successful, beautiful Black sisters out there, when you're in a good, safe relationship where you can feel, when you can show up in your softness, where you feel like the other person deserves your vulnerability or deserves your softness, is when you are not forced to choose between your success and your softness. You can have both. You can be both. You can be successful and you can be soft when it's time. There's a time and place to be in your career and having your boss mode show up. And there's a time and place to be with your partner in your softness. There's a shift that must occur. And I was actually talking with another relationship coach about this very thing, because he was asking me, well, is there a way for women, for boss women, to be a boss at work and then come home and be, excuse me, oh my goodness, and be this feminine prowess at home? And the short answer is that absolutely yes. However, neuroscience actually shows that this can't be done by willpower. We have to train ourselves in order to shift into our softness. So there are steps to go between powerhouse at work to prowess or feminine phenom at home. There is a shift that must occur in between in order for that to occur. It doesn't happen automatically. And that's where I think a lot of us are losing, because we don't realize that there is a shift that must occur from boss to babe. There's a shift. And a lot of us don't know what that shift is, let alone practice it. And so that's where a lot of the turmoil is coming from in the household, from the man and woman. Move on to the final thing, which is how you can move from fear. Alexa, stop. Sorry about that. So how you can move from fear to familiar, where making good love feels safe. And you can do that by naming your fears instead of reacting from them. When you don't name your fears, they run the show in your background, where they are triggering the anxiety, they are triggering your overthinking, they are triggering your shutdowns, and even your self-sabotage. Name those fears, because when you speak them, when you name them, your nervous system starts to calm down just by naming them. Okay, I'm feeling anxious. I don't want to feel anxious. I don't want to, I know I'm about to shut down. I don't want to shut down, right? When you name them, you regain your power. Reacting from fear creates distance, confusion, and chaos, often pushing away the very love that you want. Naming your fear helps you regulate your nervous system and respond intentionally. Name your fear. And then finally, practice vulnerability in small doses. Like, I'm feeling sad today, or I really need a hug. The more you can practice in your small doses and you can see that it's safe, you'll be able to practice it on a higher level, knowing that it's going to be safe, knowing that this partner deserves to see you in your softness. Good love is possible. It's a matter of you knowing what it is, recognizing it for what it is. And when you start to hear that little negative voice waiting for the shoe to drop, start speaking life and love, not only into the relationship, but also into yourself and your belief systems. So you can start to rewire your beliefs about love and about this particular relationship. I love you guys, and there's nothing that you can do about it. I am Marshaun Olaniyan, and this is KCCR Brownstone Cityscapes Radio. This is Love Restored, and I'm your host, Marshaun Olaniyan. I will catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye now.